Our Tuesday trio of MPs from the three major parties are here to talk about moving, liquefied natural gas mega projects, and perhaps there'll even be a bit of bonding over bonds. Who knows? Let's get right to them. Marco Mendicino is a Liberal MP from Toronto. Karen Vecchio is a Conservative MP from London, Ontario. And Nikki Ashton, an NDP MP from Northern Manitoba. Welcome back to the show. LNG mega project, $37 billion. It's going to be announced tonight. I don't know what the decision is. Maybe it's yes, maybe it's no. I'll start with you, Nikki, just for fun, because I think you might be the contrary voice here. Is this pipeline, is it finding the balance between economic development and environmental protection, or is this a betrayal of something?
Sure. Well, we're very concerned, as we raised in the House today, about the treatment of First Nations on this front. We know that First Nations have been clearly very critical of this project. But what we're also saying is we have a Prime Minister who promised a new relationship with First Nations, a commitment to reconciliation, and proper consultation has not been done on this front. And so we're seeing this disconnect between talk and action, and particularly on the First Nations front, it's just unacceptable. It's not better to do liquefied natural gas as opposed to oil through the Great Bear Rainforest, or are you seeing no difference? Well, I mean, first, we are referring to the Great Bear Rainforest, a very fragile ecosystem, and that needs to be considered whatever kind of extractive development or development is being proposed. But First Nations rights are applicable on anything, and we've heard from First Nations that proper consultation was not conducted. Obviously, this is an obligation of the federal government, and we have a Prime Minister who's telling us the opposite. So we've been very clear in saying that this project is not acceptable, and we stand with First Nations.
So there's the stop sign. Are you the green light saying this thing should be going ahead right now?
I believe it should be going ahead.
Why?
Well, I think for the economic drive, we've seen families who are out of work. This is bringing them back to work. We have seen a number of petitions signed by families throughout the western BC area saying we need to get back to work, and they have an opportunity to do so. So I hear what Nikki's saying, but I think also the jobs are so important, and that we do need to look at the environment, and I believe that that is being done as well through the assessment.
I guess you're stuck because you don't know which way this decision's going. So if you say it's a good thing and the government nixes it, you're a lone man out here.
Well, I don't feel stuck at all. In fact, I think if you listen to Karen and to Nikki, it's a prime example of how the opposition are really stretched out on either ends of the continuum of this important priority. And so one of the reasons why I think our party received the broad support of the electorate in the last election is because as a principle, what we're trying to do is reconcile the need to protect our environment while at the same time develop our economy and get natural resources to market in a safe and sustainable way. And I just want to pick up on something that Nikki said about consultation. This particular consultation for this particular LNG project was extended. And in the course of that extension, we received an additional 34,000 submissions. So absolutely we need to consult, and I believe that we have lived up to that high standard.
Okay, but so you're going to have to come down to one side of this within the next few hours. I mean, certainly sounds like you're going to come down the side of the Conservatives.
We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, dodge. All right.
Nice try.
Had to try. Let's move along to moving expenses. Karen was very active in the House today, bobbing up and down about these two moving claims from the senior people in the Prime Minister's office, paying back part of it. There's new revelations. Our friend Laura Stone at the Globe has sort of found that the moving company said, look, these guys knew every step of the way what they were claiming. They had to sign off on them with us, and then the expense claims went forward. It sounds like Mr. Butts and Ms. Tilford knew what they were doing. Is this significant, or is this, I mean, this scandal's lasted a week longer than I thought it was going to.
Is this significant? I think what we see here is that it's a he said, she said almost sort of thing. Like I saw in one newspaper article that it seemed to even say, well, they didn't know, and then something saying, well, they did know. Well, they didn't receive the money, but they're reimbursing the money. I myself am questioning what's going on as well, and I think Canadians should be. When I read that, well, we weren't going to take the money, but they're reimbursing, can someone explain that to me? And those are some of the questions we're looking for. Just give us the answers. We want to know what are some of these personal expenses. I understand. I have read what some of the personal expenses could be. I get it. But please share with Canadian taxpayers how they are spending their money.
Yeah, but you've got a guy in your ranks that is saying that your former chief of staff for Stephen Harper should be paying back his expenses, and he's fighting back saying, no, the process looks fine to me. It's more accountable than any process the MPs have. So.
And I hear what you're saying. I think the number one thing is the accountability of the MPs, the ministers, and the Prime Minister who signed off on this. Should they have done it? Is it ethical? And I think I look at those things and say, when you're spending over $200,000 on moving expenses for 2 people, that's just not right.
I never thought the Liberals would be clinging onto the quotes from a former Chief of Staff and Stephen Harper saying, here's the proof that what we're doing is fine. What's your take on all this?
Well, look, I know Mr. Butts and Ms. Telford well, and I have every confidence that they are being forthright when they provide answers and when they are making every best effort and good faith effort to be transparent with the public about what expenses were claimed. And as I've said before, there's nothing wrong with having this discussion. And if it means that we reaffirm some of the principles about why it is that we have a policy which allows public servants to claim legitimate out-of-pocket expenses, that I think is a good thing. I also think it's a good thing that the Prime Minister has stated his commitment to review the policy, which has been in place for some time and which the opposition obviously did not, in its own reflection, notwithstanding past administration's own adherence to this policy, did not improve themselves. So, look, what is really important, though, is that Canadians want us to get down to the hard work of helping the economy, making important decisions regarding climate change.
Don't change the topic.
No, but that's
not fair.
No, but I think honestly, Don, if you were to ask a lot of Canadians, they want respect for the taxpayers' dollars, but there's also a lot of other priorities on the agenda that we need to accomplish.
Well, you guys thought the $16 glass of orange juice from Bev Oda was a pretty big deal for a while there too, and the economy was in worse shape then. Nikki, the NDP has not been making as much noise as the Conservatives about this. Why is that? Do you think this is much ado about nothing?
No, we do think this is important. I mean, to be fair, the Conservatives have done a fair bit of work, and I think, I mean, we've also expressed real concern with the fact that it wasn't until the Liberals were caught that they've started repaying this money. We know well, I mean, based on the people we represent, that Canadians are going through tough economic times. Many folks are saying that, is this the return of the culture of entitlement we've seen from the Liberals past? I mean, we know of spending scandals under the Conservatives. We know them under the Liberals. The question, or the issue is
at least one in the NDP too, but let's not go there.
In terms of the culture of entitlement, I would say though the Liberals have written the book, and people are concerned that we're seeing that kind of culture return, and ultimately in difficult economic times, people see this and it really rubs them the wrong way.
Well, Don, we're writing a new chapter of openness and transparency, and I'm very proud to be part of this team, and I think you'll continue to see us raise the level of dialogue, the level of policy, the level of legislation as we go forward.
There's been a few entitlement things lately. This is becoming a little pattern here, frankly, Marco. All right.
Openness and transparency, Don.
Openness, transparency, and entitlement. Okay, moving along. Canada Savings Bonds, they've been around. I think I've got some in a drawer somewhere at home still.
You might want to dust them off.
Maybe there's money to be had here.
Depends when you bought them.
Yeah, well, I was a kid, I think. Quickly, though, there's talk that it's time for these to be put out of their misery, that they're just not the enthusiastically awaited savings vehicle they used to be in the old days. What's your take on this, Marco?
Well, look, there's been speculation in the public. I don't think any decision has been made to the best of my knowledge. There was a high watermark back in 1981 when essentially somebody who invested in a Canada Savings Bond could double their money within 4 years with an interest rate of about 17.5%. I think those days are long gone now.
Thank goodness.
And now we're looking at, I think, an interest rate of about 0.7%, and it would take roughly 100 years for you to get double your money. So naturally, consumers are looking for other products, and rightfully so, because there are challenges within the economy, and when we look at retirement security, when we look at saving for our children's education, you want to get best bang for buck. So I think it's absolutely natural that the government, on reflection, take a look at whether or not this program makes sense from the taxpayers' perspective. It does cost $60 million to run this per year. Are we getting the return on behalf of Canadians that we used to? I don't know, but I think it's a healthy thing, and it'll, I think, be rolled into the pre-budget consultation process.
Where are you on this, Karen?
You know, Marco, I agree with you.
Wow. See, they're bonding.
There we go. But I think one of the things is, yes, we need to look at that. The most important thing is that we do allow Canadians to save for their future. Is the Canada Savings Bond the right route? As Marco pointed out, there has been so much decrease in the value. But that being said, I sure like those tax-free savings accounts, and those have been hit as well. So we have to make sure that we give the best vehicle for all Canadians. I just had to throw that one in there. I can't
know
blame
you
me.
did that. And
They're still there.
Who came up with those? I don't know, Nikki?
Yeah, I mean, we believe that there should be a serious study of phasing these out and getting rid of the Canada Savings Bonds. But the one point I will raise is we have a government now that purports to defend the middle class extensively. Unfortunately, the first thing they brought in was a tax cut that benefits folks that make over $200,000 and does nothing for those that are $45,000 a year. And so, so the question is, if we are going to actually do things for working class and middle class Canadians, let's actually do them rather than just talk about it.
All right. See, you sort of agreed on that last one. All right.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's
Appreciate
good.
See you guys
a moment
next.
of unanimity on the panel.
Very rare, but good.
Mark it down.
All right. Thank you all. See you next week.